Bran makes a mistake.
He saw me!
He's not the Three-Eyed Raven yet. He doesn't have control over these visions in the way that the Three-Eyed Raven does. But for the first time, someone actually sees him in the vision as the Night King. Which is part of the tragic mistake here, is that if the Three-Eyed Raven had been with him, things would have ended much differently.
Hello, my sweet summer children. I'm back with some juice to get you through the long night. We've been putting Bran in our sights a lot this week. Bran and his battle with the Night King. In the first video, we established that Bran is indeed the person that has been foreshadowed to play the biggest role in the War for Dawn, or at least the most important. And Bran is the only person that the Night King sees as a threat. In the second video, I discussed exactly how I think it was foreshadowed that Bran will kill the Night King. In a summed up, bummed up nutshell, this won't be the first attempt, and he will have to go into the past to do it, and there will be consequences. So, time travel. I know. No one likes time travel. Time travel is tricky business. They use time travel in a lot of movies, a lot of different ways. The Butterfly Effect, Looper, Terminator, Back to the Future. They even have it in Harry Potter books. Hot Tub Time Machine. Time travel is a very popular plot device in sci-fi books and movies. Yes, I know, Game of Thrones is fantasy, but George is first a sci-fi author. In some of the comments on the last video, I got that time travel doesn't exist in Game of Thrones. But please don't tell me that time travel does not exist in Game of Thrones, because we're watching the same show. And we have literally seen Bran Stark travel back in time. He's in the past, he's walking around, it's time travel. I do welcome all arguments on the rules, logic, and laws of this said time travel, but I just don't want you guys to deny that it exists, because we see it. You see it, right? So people have theories of these beautiful circular and linear timelines that just can't change. They just are what they are, and everything's perfect and clear, clean, and precise. But I don't buy that. The world of A Song of Ice and Fire is not circular or linear. It's out of whack. The cycle of life and death is out of whack. People are living beyond their mortal lifespan. People are dying and then, like, not really dying. Death is incomplete. Winters are lasting a generation. Summers lasting 10 years. It's crazy. It's unbalanced. So why should the timeline be this immaculate circle, square, or line? I picture the timeline as a root system that's forever growing, changing, and evolving. In A Dance with Dragons, when Bran travels into the past through the eyes of the heart tree, he literally experiences the growth of the tree. He shrinks with the tree. A dark-eyed youth, pale and fierce, sliced 3 branches off the weirwood and shaped them into arrows. The tree itself was shrinking, growing smaller with each vision, whilst the lesser trees dwindled into saplings and vanished, only to be replaced by other trees that would dwindle and vanish in their turn. And now the lords Bran glimpsed were tall and hard, stern men in fur and chainmail. Some wore faces he remembered from the statues in the crypts, but they were gone before he could put a name to them. So I think of the trees as not only the means to view time and see time and travel through time, but the time keepers. So not to get too far off track, a lot of people believe, with good reason, that Bran is just there to find out some crucial information that will basically save the world. But in my mind, there is no way that Bran is there to only be on knowledge recon. Bloodraven had all of the knowledge in the world. If it was just knowledge that Bran needed, then why not just tell him what he needs to know? Also, the last time the Night King or the White Walkers or whoever the fuck was defeated, during the Long Night, the last hero sought out the children and they made an alliance to defeat the Night King. The children used their green seers to do something, and the children knew exactly what they created, how they created, and how to defeat it. It had nothing to do with knowledge recon, because they already knew everything they needed to know. So I'm not sure how this would be different, but I just think it's more than just knowing something. The Green Seers were actually doing something. So the reason most people think that the timeline changing or going into the past and changing things is not possible is because Bloodraven says the past is already written, the ink is dry. But one, that's something that's said only on the show, and two, we physically see that the ink is not dry. I point you to the teaser for Game of Thrones Season 6.
Past is already written. The ink is dry.
They have no idea what's going to happen.
Okay, so in this teaser, we see Jon die, and they are telling us basically that he's not coming back because the past is already written. The ink is dry. That's what they teased us with. But when we actually saw Season 6, the ink clearly wasn't dry because Jon came back. Now that's just one example. We have the Hodor scene that I explained in detail in my last video. We have what I would debate as a minuscule amount of time travel being used by Quaithe and Marwyn the Mage. They are using glass candles, which I believe are indeed a form of time travel or distance travel or place travel. Glass candles seem more like an hourly time travel thing. Quaithe could indeed speak to Daenerys and change her trajectory. When I hear shit like circular and linear, it takes things away like free will. If something was always supposed to happen, then characters have no free will. So I don't think that's the case. Now, in order for time travel to make sense, it has to have logic, and there have to be clear rules and laws. And that's where I think there is this disconnect that lies between viewers. And that's fine because we don't know the laws, we don't know the rules. So all we can do is theorize. We could be wrong, we could be right. The thoughts and the thinking of what could happen and what all the possibilities are is what makes this fucking fandom so awesome. What I'm giving you is opinion based on research. I'm not just throwing shit at the wall. I studied this shit. I've read other stories by George. I'm studying how he's treated time travel previously. And to be honest, I'm not a fan of time travel. I actually think it's stupid. I don't like it as a plot device, but it's not about what I like or what I think would be awesome, because if that was the case, you would have a million videos and memes on Drogon eating the Night King like a blueberry popsicle and Ghost sitting on the Iron Throne. I mean, come on, it's not about what I want. However, I do think that the past can be changed. I think it can specifically be changed because the universe will allow it. I say the universe will allow it because the universe is unbalanced. The universe needs to be healed. The universe needs to be corrected. When was the universe thrown into this chaotic state, this state of imbalance? When the White Walkers were created. So it makes perfect sense in my mind for the universe to allow time to bend or loop or change in order to restore balance. Woo! Now that that's out of the way. So I said that Bran would go back in time and do something to stop the Night King's creation. And I said this act could change the future or the present. Now, all of you who believe that the timeline is perfectly straight and everything that happens was meant to happen, well, the Night King is unnatural. And he never was supposed to happen. So maybe it's likely that the Night King was supposed to be killed before his creation, if that paradox makes sense. So we don't know the laws, we don't know the logic, we don't know the rules, we don't know anything but what we've seen on TV or read in the books, right? Well, we have some other things. One other thing in particular that I want to discuss. So, in George R.R. Martin's original outline, there is an interesting paragraph that refers to the White Walkers. The greatest danger of all, however, comes from the north, from the icy waste beyond the wall, where half-forgotten demons out of legend, the inhumane others, raise cold legions of the undead and the never-born, and prepare to ride down on the winds of winter to extinguish everything that we would call life. Okay, so yes, I know a lot of the outline has changed, but some of it has stayed the same, and it's interesting that George uses the word never-born. This could refer to several different things. Nobody knows what he's talking about, but it might not be a shocker. But then again, it might be. So I think there is this loop system of timelines, like the roots on a tree, a root system. I think Greenseers, or possibly even Bran, over time have been trying to correct the mistake of ever creating the White Walkers. Or the Great Other, and I think the Great Other in the books is the Night King on the show. Now, we have Bran, the new three-eyed raven, and he's working with a root system of timelines that interchange and intertangle, and he has to find the right root system. He has to remember. Other Greenseers have probably tried, they've probably failed, or they didn't try because they were too afraid, but Bran doesn't know anything. Bran knows nothing about anything. He's brand new. So Bran is basically like a looper. I don't know if you saw the movie Groundhog Day, but he's basically reliving certain events over and over and over until he gets it right. So I think that's what Bran and the other different Greenseers may have been doing. Reliving things over and over, trying to set the universe right. Now, I said in my last video that I believe that if he accomplishes bending time or changing the past, then it could rewrite the present as we know it. People could literally be never born, the same word George uses in his outline. Everyone has theories that Bran is the Night King and Bran is this and Bran is that, but I don't think he's the Night King. But I do think he's the cause of the Night King's strength. I think every attempt that the children or Bran have made to this timeline has resulted in someone being never born every time. Well, in this unnatural world, those people or those souls who were never born likely end up in the north with the cold gods of winter, awaiting a rebirth, or just piss the fuck off at everyone like, what did I do to deserve this shit? So when Bran is working with Bloodraven, he's learning. The Tower of Joy scene seems to be important to his learning. Seems he needs to know about this. But why? Why does he need to know that Jon is the son of Rhaegar and Lyanna and heir to the Iron Throne? Is it because he's a prince of promised prophecy, the savior of the world? Maybe. I'm not just going to disregard that possibility because that is a strong possibility. But is it because when Bran finally reaches the correct timeline with the correct sequence of events to stop the Night King, and when he attempts to kill the Night King, does that mean that because Lyanna and Rhaegar had Jon out of prophecy obsession, prophecy that wouldn't exist if the Night King didn't exist, that Jon would become a Neverborn and take the Night King's place? I think that is a possibility. Jon does have a dream where he's like armored in ice in A Dance with Dragons, but I lean more towards a timeline where all of these things can happen and the past can be affected, but on an individual scale, kind of like Hodor. So Bran is in the past, he works Hodor from the past and makes Hodor hold the door in the present. So Bran could go to the past to see the Night King, but the Night King when he's pre-Night King, when he's just a man. So he goes to the man and wargs him in the past, like he did Hodor, to affect the present. Kind of using the past pre-Night King man to take over the Night King's mind in the present. I think if he tries to do it while the Night King is in his current state, like post Dragonglass through the Heart Night King might overpower him. I also think he doesn't just kill him in the past, because although you could change the present state, you shouldn't because of the consequences, and you won't want to because of the consequences. So the best thing to do to stabilize the world and bring back balance is to defeat the Night King without changing the timeline. Now that's best case scenario, which means Bran will have to like mind fuck him in the past to affect the present while like Jon kills him or something. Now, that's best case scenario. But all of this is scary because Bran doesn't know what the hell he's doing. Bloodraven says that he's not ready for all of this. So he could fuck it up royally. What I want to know is, what do you think about time travel in Game of Thrones? I want your honest opinion. This is like all speculation and theory because we don't know. We don't know George's rules. We don't know the laws. We don't know what he can do and what he can't do. Maybe it's one of those things that you can do, but you shouldn't. It's forbidden. It's an abomination. But Bran doesn't know that. He didn't have time to learn. Bran doesn't know about all the abominations that he's committed already. But I'll let you decide what is going on and what Bran is gonna do, and only time will tell. As always, thanks for watching. Thanks to everyone that supports me on Patreon. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please click that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and join the Sweet Summer family. Okay, my sweet summer children, have a good day.